starting where some big decisions have to be made. Probably the biggest free or off-season decision that we have to make, and the players we have here: Tremaine Edmunds, Matt Milano, Terrell Bernard, Metakevich, Klein, Dodson, and Balin Spector. And you guys voted on this one. 79% had this position group as an A, 19% as a B, 1% as a C. And I'm going to agree with the voting here that I would give it an A, and we're going to kind of unravel from there. So obviously Tremaine Edmunds is a free agent, and looking like he's going to get a pretty sizable contract, and I think he's kind of the linchpin of what the team's going to be able to do money-wise this offseason. I think there's ways to keep him around. I think there's ways to make it a longer contract and kind of be able to lower the cap hit in the first couple seasons, knowing he's going to be around. And I think that's what the Bills would want and try to do. I think that Milano and Edmunds both had their best seasons as Buffalo Bills players, but I also think that was a lot to do with having Daquan Jones in the middle and how long we had this conversation going back to Star Lotulelei, and the role of that player being to kind of free up the linebackers to play freely, to keep them clean so they can get in the backfield, make tackles, move laterally, not take on linemen getting to the second level. Well, I don't think it's a coincidence that we saw Daquan Jones primarily healthy throughout the season, and these two linebackers have their best year. So for me personally, I do think Edmunds has done a lot of growth as a player. I do think he's important to the defense. I do, value the fact that he is still so young, and, you could give him a 6-year contract and he's barely hitting 30 by then. All that being said, I think I would be letting Edmunds walk this offseason, and I don't know what it's going to end up looking like, what kind of contract they would offer him. But I think you're going to be in a position where there's going to be teams that are willing to give probably about $5 million more a year than I'd be willing to offer. And I'm looking at teams like, the first one that comes to mind, it seems so obvious, is the Giants. They really overachieved with that roster this year, and they have a ton of cap space. And, they have some pretty big ties to the Buffalo Bills, obviously with Dable in the front office. So I think they really were around Edmunds. They know who he is as a player, who he's becoming as a leader, and they might go ahead and slap that Raquan Smith deal right on the table for him, like 6 years, $20 million. And it's just not a position, and I know it's important in the Sean McDermott, Leslie Frazier defense. That middle linebacker is very important. It's not a position that I think makes or breaks the defense as much as, a lockdown corner or like a high-octane defensive end. This kind of is going into my theory with Holcomb coming in as a defensive assistant and his background as a linebackers coach. I don't think the Bills necessarily plan to not try to extend Tremaine Edmunds. I think they are going to try. But I think Holcomb may have been brought in as kind of this insurance policy of, all right, well, if Tremaine does walk, what can we do developing Terrell Bernard? Are we bringing in somebody else in the draft that we need to start developing? I think if we were to see Tremaine Edmunds walk, it'd be a combination of low contract veteran, and then probably a player somewhere in the third, fourth round that you start grooming to take over that position. This is going to be a very interesting one to keep an eye on,